Hi, everybody. Welcome in. Are we ready for back to school yet, or just starting to like dip our toes into it? Maybe you've got your kids already back and you've had to visit the lost and found already. Well, this class is going to help you make some labels for your home and your students for organization purposes. I'll be using my Cricut Maker, but you can make these labels with any machine that you have. So if it's a Cricut machine, maybe you have the Explorer, the Cricut Joy, or the Cricut Extra, you'll certainly be able to make your labels. But if you have, say, a Caesar machine or a Silhouette machine, you'll be able to do pretty much the same thing. The software is a little bit different. But today we're going to be working with our Cricut machine and the Cricut materials. So I do have a presentation I put together just to kind of give you an overview of working with the different types of vinyl for Cricut and kind of just give you just a quick introduction. So I'm going to jump in and share my screen here, and we'll just get started with the presentation. So this workshop is the Cricut label making, and I will be using my Maker 3 today. Let me see here. Okay. So Cricut has a great ecosystem with the different machines, the mats, the blades, and the materials. So there are 4 different Cricut mats that you can work with. There's the green standard mat, which is the mat we'll be working with today. And this mat is great for all of your vinyl. So if it's the vinyl iron-on, or if it's just the regular vinyl that you're working with, also for your different types of cardstock that might need a little bit extra grip, like the glitter or the embossed cardstock. It's great for infusible ink transfer sheets, acetate, craft board, matte board, all kinds of different types of materials that you can use. This is the standard grip mat is the one that I primarily go to. It's my go-to mat. Now, there's 2 different sizes, so you can have a 12-inch mat or a 12 by 24-inch mat, depending on the material that you're working with. So if you're making a whole bunch of name labels, then you might want to do the 12 by 24. You can also work with smart materials, and we'll talk about those as well, but those don't require a mat. Now, I get a lot of questions whenever I teach a Cricut class about how do you keep your mats sticky? So to keep your mat sticky and free of the debris, you want to use that clear cover on your mats when you're not using your mats. So when you're done cutting, you want to put that clear cover back on your mat. You also want to remove any little pieces of cardstock or anything that's stuck on your mat. And I do that at like a 45-degree angle so I don't scrape my mat. And then you're going to want to keep your mat clean by wiping down with a clean damp cloth. I like to use a cloth either that is, say, a baby wipe or a lint-free cloth. Even a coffee filter is a lint-free cloth, so that always works well. Now, if your mat gets really messy and you're like, oh my goodness, there's no more stick left, I'm gonna have to buy a new mat, you can actually wash your mats. So you want to keep your mat on the sink, like on the sink counter, so that you have a firm surface to work with. If your sink isn't big enough just to put it right in the sink, you can, I wash mine on the side of my sink on my counter. So you want to have lukewarm water, and you just put that on the mat. And then you use like a plastic bristled brush to just gently scrub on your mat. And I do it in a circular motion. I've also found that the Scrub Daddy works really well with a little bit of Dawn dish detergent. Then you can pat your mat dry or let it air dry. I really let mine air dry to really get that stickiness back in it and make sure that I'm not putting extra debris on the mat by using a paper towel. So you can do that, like I do that on the back side of the mat, but on the actual sticky side of the mat, I just kind of let that air dry, and believe it or not, the stick comes back. So you can repair your mat that way. Now we will be using the Permium fine tip, and this is probably the most versatile blade for your Cricut machines, and that it's designed to work with all of the different machines, the fine point blade. your maker blades and your explore blades are interchangeable, except for the ones that are exclusive to the maker, like the rotary blade and those types of blades. Otherwise, you can switch out your blades. The fine point tip, it's really good. I don't know what the material is, but it really resists the breaking and the wear and tear on your blade. So a lot of times if my blade is dragging through my material, I find it's because I don't have the right settings more than, oh, I need to replace my blade. You can go months and lots of cutting without having to replace your blade. So double check that your settings are correct on your machine and the material that you're cutting, that it's compatible, because a lot of times I find that that's what causes me trouble. Now, the vinyl we'll be working with today is, I have some removable vinyl and permanent vinyl to work with, as well as transfer tape. Now, your removable and permanent vinyl, the most common question I get on that is, what's the difference? So your removable vinyl, think of that when you want to create something maybe that's seasonal or that's a home decor item that you may have to remove from your blank or the area that you've put it on, that you want to use removable vinyl. And the removable vinyl from Cricut is designed to leave no residue. So you can have that removable vinyl, say on a door, on a wall, and then remove it and it doesn't leave any residue. The permanent vinyl is vinyl you want to use when you want to have it in a permanent place. So outside, if you're going to be putting your cup in the washing machine, you want to use permanent vinyl, like in your dishwasher or anything like that, you want to use the permanent vinyl. Now, the permanent vinyl is UV resistant. So believe it or not, I have had vinyl outside since 2018, and it is still as red as vinyl I would put on today. We'll be using transfer tape on our vinyl, and that's really the tape that you use to peel your vinyl design off of the carrier sheet. And there's some tricky ways to work with that, so we'll go over that today too. And then if you're working with smart vinyl, the smart vinyl is designed for your Maker 3 and your Explorer 3 machines in the wider format. So it's the 12-inch format, and you can use your smart vinyl in your Maker 3 and your Explorer 3 without using a mat. Now, if you have just an Explorer Air, for example, or the original Maker, you can still use the smart vinyl. You just have to trim it down to 12 inches and then place it on a mat. Cricut does also offer the smart vinyl for the Joy Extra and the Joy size machines. So those machines also will take the smart vinyl, but you just have to get the right size for your machine, and it will cut without using a mat. Now, some of your storage solutions, something like this to store your memorabilia in, it can be done using the permanent vinyl. So something like this, I would want to have, I take all of her school items and place these in this container. And believe it or not, I made this container a couple years ago, and I was trying to find this container. And I've tucked it away somewhere with all my daughter's high school items from that year. So make sure you remember where you tuck your containers away. But this is a great, easy way to put like papers they've written or drawings they've done. You can do a bin for each year, a bin for each child, whatever works for you. And then also just some organization tips around the house is to use your vinyl creations on containers so everybody knows where everything is. Now, we're going to talk about some Cricut Ironon and work with Cricut Ironon, and there's a lot of different iron-on materials to choose from. Today, I'll just be using Cricut's everyday iron-on material, and we'll just sort of talk about that as options for marking clothes, backpacks, shoes, anything like that, bags, totes. You can use your iron-on material. And then when you're working with Cricut's iron-on material, you can use one of Cricut's Easy Press presses, and then the Cricut Heat Guide to make sure that you have the right settings. Now, if you don't have an Easy Press, do not worry. You can use a home iron. to press your material down. So what I like to do is have it on the highest setting with no moisture in the iron. So I actually empty out the iron and make sure my steam is turned off. And then you'll want to preheat your garment. Anytime you're working with iron-on material, you preheat your garment. And then you'll place the weeded image on your blank and press it for 25 to 30 seconds. Now, the trick when you're working with a home iron versus a press is to use it like a press. So instead of rubbing it across your design, you actually want to press and pick up and move and press and pick up. Now, one other little tip I've got for you if you're doing a home iron, this is also something I suggest you do on a hard surface, not on your ironing board. Your ironing board is really designed to not retain the heat. So I like to put just like a beach towel or a pool towel down on my countertop and then put my garment down and my home iron on there. And then I'm working with a really hard surface. My countertops are like the marble. Now, when you are getting into the design aspect of creating your names, you may find that sometimes when you're using cursive font, you have these little lines in between your letters. And so each font is cut out individually. So these black lines in between the letters indicate where a cut is made. So when this happens, what you need to do is select the name and use the weld function. And what the weld function does is it merges each individual letter into the name. So you can see here, I no longer have those black lines in between my name. So I just point that out. If you're using one of the cursive fonts, you'll find that happens, that you get those little lines. And then when you cut it out, instead of cutting it as a whole name, it cuts each individual letters, which is a little frustrating. So what we're going to do is design a 12 by 12 sheet that has your child's name on it or your name on it, whatever you want to do, and use some different fonts, and we're going to weld it together. Now, when I take a sheet like this and I send it over to my cutter, you'll notice that things kind of have a tendency to move around. So I had it really nice and organized on my, in Design Space on my canvas, but then when I went to send it to the cutter, everything kind of moved around. So to keep everything in place, you'll select all of the names and then attach those together. It basically merges all of those onto one layer. And then when you cut that, when you send that to your cutter attached, everything will hold together. So you don't have your letters in different wacky places. All right, so after the workshop, if you want to connect with me, you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, on Facebook at Kesley.365, and you can always join me for another class with Michaels at any time. On my workspace here, you'll notice I have a few of the vinyls laid out. So I thought it might be good to go over these and talk about what options you have. The boxes of vinyl, these two boxes that are blue, these are the smart vinyl. Your smart vinyl is, for your full size, is 13 inches. And this is the type of vinyl that will fit into your Explore 3 or your Maker 3 without any, without having to use a mat, which is great. Now, you want to pay attention on the tubes too, because they will say if it's a permanent vinyl or a removable vinyl. So again, remember your permanent vinyl is, it can go outside, it can go in your dishwasher and things like that. So this is not going to easily be removed. And then the regular Cricut vinyl are in the tubes. So this is their everyday vinyl, the premium vinyl. And again, you'll want to look out for that permanent or removable type of vinyl. And I think even on the back, I know on the back of your vinyl sheets, it will say if it's permanent vinyl or removable vinyl. So if I hold up one of my sheets, this one says permanent vinyl right on there. So you know it's a permanent vinyl. Now, Cricut has a lot of different types of vinyl. One of the vinyls I love to work with is the glitter vinyl. So this is probably a permanent glitter vinyl. And I don't know why I love their vinyl. It has like just this right amount of shimmer to it. Here's the trick. When you're working with a vinyl that has a texture, so like the glitter vinyl or the chalkboard vinyl, you'll need to make sure that your transfer tape matches your vinyl type. So Cricut has two different transfer tapes. They have this one that's called a strong grip transfer tape, and they have your standard grip transfer tape. The standard grip is gray, so your Cricut logo here is a gray color. And in the strong grip transfer tape, not only does it say strong grip, but your Cricut logo is purple. This is a super strong adhesive on the transfer tape, and that's what you need to remove the glitter design off of the backing of your transfer tape. Of your design. Now, if you used standard grip transfer tape on your glitter, you may be able to get it off, but it's going to be a struggle. So make it easy for yourself and use the right transfer tape with the right type of vinyl. You also don't want to use the strong grip transfer tape on your regular vinyl, because when you put that design down, it sticks more to the strong grip transfer tape than it would your blank. So you want to use the standard grip transfer tape for all of the vinyls unless it has a texture. When you're working with an iron-on material, you don't need to use a transfer tape because it basically has a transfer tape already on the material. And you'll get to see that in action tonight. For our workshop today, I don't think our chat is open, but I think you can, if you have any questions, you can use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen, and you can just type in a question down there and I'll pop it up and be able to answer any questions you have. So if you're just getting started and I've explained something that you're like, whoa, can you go back and reintroduce that or talk about that again? I'm happy to do that with you. So please don't hesitate if you have questions about anything as we're going through, I can answer those questions for you. Now, if we're ready, I'll just give everyone a quick second to, if you have any questions, you can type those in. Just remember the permanent vinyl and the removable vinyl are two different purposes. Your permanent vinyl is the one that would go on your car outside. That's going to stay there permanently. It's not to say that you can't remove it. I have certainly used permanent vinyl in places where maybe I should have used removable vinyl, or I'm like, oh, I just want to change up that design. Like I have these 2018 planners I made for my son's graduation, and I have peeled off parts of that design for my daughter and son who graduated years later. So just keep in mind, like you can remove it. It's just a little bit harder to remove it, but it is designed to go through your dishwasher and everything like that. So your permanent vinyl is really going to stay there. All right, so if you're following me, I'm going to go ahead and open up Design Space and set up a new canvas, and we will lay out a sheet of labels. So why don't I go ahead and share my screen again? And I'm going to open up my Design Space here. I got that big enough? Okay. All right. So let's see. Here's my canvas where I have all of my little daisy names all set up there. What we're going to do, though, is start with a fresh canvas. So on your fresh canvas, what I like to do is I personally like to set up basically like a frame for how big I'm going to make my design. So if I were just wanting to do like a little strip of names, my canvas may only be, 6 inches by 4 inches or something like that. For this one, I'm going to go ahead and give myself a 11.5 by 11.5 square. So you go to the shapes pop on a square, and we're going to call that 11.5 by 11.5. And then I'm just going to change that color to white. Oh, good question. If you're using the Cricut Joy Extra, that will cut an 8.5 by 11 size. So I would make that like 8 by 10.5. That's a great question. And if you're doing a Cricut Joy, you would want to do that. I think that's 4.5 inches wide. Oh, good question. Yes, I will go over different settings for different material types. If you are using, like if you want it, I can pop up here. And if I were to use, like, say, Cricut Joy, you see how my square over there has that red sign, that red error mark. So that tells me that my canvas is too big. So if I go 4.5 inches, that will fit in my Cricut Joy. And if let me just make sure it's 4.5, because it could be 5.5. Nope, it's 4.5 for your Cricut Joy. And the question on the Joy Extra, I believe if we did 8 inches, that would work for you. Yep, 8 inches. We can even go 8.5. Oh, what happened there? 8.5. So you could do 8.5 inches wide on your cut, and you'd be fine on your Joy Extra. So I'm going to flip back over to my Maker 3, and mine is just going to be 11.5 by 11.5. And you can do it rectangle or square, whatever works for you, however much material you have. Now, once you have your kind of your square set up there, your background, this is really just to sort of help you. I do this just to sort of give me the idea of where my names and things need to fit into my space. So once I've got that locked in there, I'm going to not change that again, and I will hide that layer when I'm ready. Now, if you want to add text to your canvas, you go into the left side where it says text, and you click on there, and your text box appears. Now you can just start typing right away. So let's say I just do my name, and it's Kesley. If you have Cricut Access, you have access to over 1,000 different fonts to use that are part of your Cricut Access membership. So you've got, thousands of different fonts to use. You can also use fonts that you have uploaded on your computer by going to the system fonts. So like this Beauty Smile was a font that I recently downloaded and added to my just my system, my Windows, and then I can use that in Design Space. Now, not every font is cut compatible, so you may have one in here that doesn't show up, and it's just it's just not compatible with your machine. One font that I use all the time, I love it. Oh, I must have it on this computer. It's called Lobster, and it's a great cursive font, super easy to use. So that's one I use quite a lot. Now, if you don't have Cricut Access, you can come on over to the fonts, and if you select the little slider button here, you can choose which fonts are for free. And then only the free fonts will show up for you. And there's a little bit over 100 different free fonts that you can use. I have to tell you, I get caught up finding fonts all the time. I just find myself looking for fonts. I'm like, oh, that's a cute font. Oh, that's a cute one. And I just kind of go crazy, and I change out my fonts. I'm like, what do you think of that one? What do you think of that one? So and then also keep in mind, as you look at the fonts, some of them have all capital letters, and some of them have capital and lowercase letters. So I could choose any of these fonts. Also, when you're talking about fonts, if you want to write, you see here where it says like single layer and writing. So that will write with your pen, with a pen in your machine, which if you have questions about that, we can kind of talk about that towards the end. Just let me know. But let's just say I'm going to pick this Lava HK font for my first font, and I'll just start adding that to my canvas here. And so I just need to go a little bit bigger. I want to see what that looks like. Oh, that's a cute one. So we can just make this a little bit smaller so it'll fit onto my canvas. Okay, so once you have that on your canvas, you're happy with how it looks, you can copy this and paste it. So having like multiples of the same image on your canvas. And I just do this with my keyboard. I do Control C and then Control V, and that does the copy and paste right there for me. If you didn't have a keyboard, let's say you're working on an iPad or something like that, if you click on the name, you can just hit duplicate, and that will give you the name right there. So you can add that onto your canvas. Now, if you have Cricut Access, down here on the bottom right, you'll see the monogram. So you can click on the monogram and add a monogram to your thing. So let's say I would do my monogram is HAK, like that. Oh, I never like that. Let's see. Let me do. I don't like the K in the middle. I like the. Let's try HKA. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's how it should look. So then I can add that to my canvas, and now I have a monogram for my name, and I can just put that right on there and move that over if I like that one. And then you can always change it out if you want to, like if you want to do something a little bit more traditional type of monogram like this one, we can do that one. Like this one. So it's all up to you what you want to add on your canvas and how you want things to turn out to look. So we can just maybe put a couple of those on there. And just have fun with it. Just play with the fonts. It's a great way to get to know different types of fonts that you like. And also if you have, like with my kids, each of my kids had a color. So I have 2 boys and a girl. My son's one was hot color, so he was red, orange, or yellow, and my other son was cool color, so he was blue or green. And then my daughter was whatever color she was enjoying at that time. But this is a fun way. You can add different fonts on here. You can try to do different things with different fonts. So let me go and add, like, let me get something a little bit bigger. I'll find a cursive one too. I have a cursive font I really love to use, and I can never remember the name of it. But like if you want to put your name in there, you can curve your name. So we can curve that around if you're doing a water bottle or something that you want to have kind of just a name with a little curve on there. You can add that curve feature. Now, again, I think that may only be this may only be available if you have Cricut Access to use the curve font there. But we can use that. And then you can also change the way the font works with warp. We can change you can kind of do the curve with warp, or if you want to get like a curvy one like this, we can do this and do a name like that, like really fun like that. So you can really have a lot of fun with the different fonts. Again, if we want to add that monogram, go down on the left side, click on monogram, and you'll see you have a lot of different options for different types of monograms that you can use. So if I put my initials in here, HKA, all the different styles will show up. You can add a circle on it if you want. Like let's say if I do this one, I can put that in a circle font like that. You can add, just little circles like this, which is really fun. I mean, how cute is that? If you want your font to be the elegant style, you have handwritten styles, which are really fun. Like I can just do that one. And then you have more vintagey styles. I kind of am a traditionalist, I guess. I kind of like just that one. And then you can do different themes with your monograms too. You can really get intricate. So like if you have a bride coming up. Okay, so those are just some ways that you can play around with those. And you can play around with them, Tamia. And if you don't have Cricut Access, I don't think it'll charge you until you go to cut. So you can, I think everybody should be able to play with this, with the monograms, if you want to. Now, one other thing to think about, like, so now I have all this kind of extra space over here. Maybe I need to do some other types of labels, like I need to do, I can spell my name smaller, but let's say I need to do work in, and maybe I want to put something on, like I'm trying to think of, like, I have these file cabinet holder things, like file holders, and maybe I just want to, mark that with the work that comes in and work that goes out. So if I put work in, and then I can always do work out. Not like I'm going to go work out, but it's paperwork for kids that needs to go out the door. Like if you've signed a permission slip or something like that, and that is, they know to put paper in. Your kids know to put things that they need you to sign in the work in bin. And then once you've signed it, it goes in the work out bin. And you can, you could add those little things like that. Let's see, when you made the square on your canvas, did you specify the length too? I did specify the length to be 12 by 12, but Mary Ellen, when I go to cut this, I will just take this square and I'll hide that. So the square actually wouldn't cut with me. If I didn't need to fill up the square, let's say, I was just going to do my work in and my work out bins and then remove these names. So let's say this was all I was going to cut. If I wanted to, I could just come back to my square, my initial square, and, make this a bit smaller like that. So it still kind of helps me in my weeding just to have that square there. But also you could come over to the side here and just hide that square like that. So now when I'm ready to cut and I send it to my cutter, that square won't be there. It'll just cut each thing individually. Now you'll notice because my fonts were different colors, they are on different mats and it moved things around on me. So this is again where you want to go back and select all of those layers and then attach those together. Now when you send it to your cutter, all those will be held together where you want them to be. Okay, and one thing I didn't show you guys was was how to do the cursive. Like if you're cursive, if you choose a cursive font, how to work with that. So let me just make this a little bit bigger. And I can show you how we do that. Let's hide this stuff here. Okay, so if this is the name I'm working with, and I come to my font styles and I want to choose something that has like a cursive, I can do one of two things. One thing I can do is choose a font that has kerning. So if you go here to the filters and select kerned fonts, those are fonts that are designed to be together. So those cursive fonts will line on top of each other. I'm not quite sure that's the right way to explain it, but if I select some cursive fonts here, the kerned fonts, kerned refers to the space in between each letter. So these letters here on my canvas, they don't touch. When a font is kerned, those letters are supposed to touch each other. And that's really where you get into needing to weld those together. So this banana pumpkin is a great one to choose because as you can see, the name here, let me change that color so it's a little bit easier to see. Okay, see how right here between the S and the L, there is that line. That will cut. So when I send that to when you send that to your cutter, that's going to cut. So I'm going to just kind of grab all those letters, grab my name. You come down to the combine and you want to weld those together. Now those are all together. So if I come back here and we're going to take this and we'll go bring it down to size. We're going to add that right here. And I will attach all of these together again so that when I send it to my machine, now it doesn't matter. This is another good, something people ask a lot is, well, what they're black. So are you cutting them out of black vinyl? No, I'm going to cut these out of purple vinyl. And the color here doesn't matter when you're cutting. It'll just cut on the color material that you have. Now, if you want to see what they look like, then you can come up and change your color for everything. Let's go for a little nice purple color there. So this might be how mine would look. Okay. And so that's how we do it. Are there any questions? Oh yeah, Charlene, I'll show the hide button again. So if you have something that you've added to your canvas. So let's say I really love how this worked out and I'm going to copy it and duplicate it for my next child. So I'll come in here and we'll detach everything so that I can come in and change something. So if I wanted to, that once it's welded together, you can't change it. But let's say I want to change this one and do this one for Daisy. So I could change that name just by clicking on it and typing in another child's name. So I've changed those names. Now, let's say I'm not really ready to cut those because I'm not sure, like, do I need a different work in, a different workout? I'm not really ready to cut that. So I'll take all of these layers and I'm going to group them together. So I'll group those and those will all hold together on my canvas. But since I'm not really ready to cut them yet, I don't want to send this over to my machine and have all these letters now show up. So what I'm going to do is hide this layer. So if you come over to the right to your layers panel and you hit this eyeball, that will hide that layer. Now that layer is still there. When I'm ready to, I can come back and bring that layer back up and easily find that layer. And I would label this like Daisy. So those are, this is all Daisy's group. And I can just hide that. And then this layer would be Kesley. And so when I'm ready, I can just send those over. And you can come back in. And as long as you don't weld it together, you can change anything you want. So like, let's say instead of my name, I wanted this to say snacks. Because I was going to put this on the snack drawer. And then this one, maybe this was going to be, I don't know, what else would you put? Like, what else would you have? Snacks. Let's say we're going to label their lunch boxes. So this might be lunch. And this one might say, what else would you label for kids? I'm trying to think of all my stuff. Let's say you're labeling some notebooks. So maybe you do science. And then you can just change that way. And then we'd want to just make sure everything is grouped together and it's all attached together. So when I send it, even though on my canvases are different colors, they'll cut out all on one mat, which that's weird. It should change it to purple. So I don't know, maybe it's a font thing. All right. So that's basically all we have to do is how we're going to cut those out. Okay, so once we're ready, we're going to send it to the make and it will go to my machine. I can see everything's positioned how I want it to be. I can move it sideways if I want to. I might look and see, okay, I need a piece of vinyl that's 8 inches by 12 inches. I can cut that out and put it on my mat. And then I just hit continue and it will connect with my machine and then I'll be ready to cut it out. I'm going to select the Maker 3. And I just choose my material. So I will be using Cricut's Premium Permanent Glossy Vinyl, and that will tell me my fine point blade, and then I'm ready to go. Okay. So again, if you're cutting along with me and you have questions about what I've done so far, do not hesitate to ask. That is what I'm here for. We're here to answer those questions. Now I'm going to pull my table back just a hair because I want to show you guys a really fun trick. Now, when you're working with your premium vinyl, you want to put this on the mat with the back side onto the mat. We're just going to cut right on the top of it. But sometimes it's challenging. Like if you're trying to do 12 inches or 24 inches, it can be a little bit challenging. So what I like to do is first take the little plastic sleeve off of your mat, and we're going to set that aside. And then to get this to work for you, I put my mat underneath my machine, and I just leave out about an inch of my mat. Then you take your vinyl and let it rest, let the roll rest in your machine, and take this edge here and line this up on your mat. So I'm just going to line that right up on the corner there and on the corner there. And so I just seal that part down, and then we just are going to pull the mat from underneath your machine and put your vinyl down as you go. You really want to make sure that your vinyl is adhered to your mat properly so it doesn't wiggle on you or move on you. That will cause you problems. Then there's two little white notches here. You want to get your machine under it. Now, somebody had mentioned they were working with, I think, the Joy machine, and you had trouble like not being able to feed it in. If you want to give me a little bit more information on there, I'll answer your questions there if I can. Sorry, I'm gonna dry throat. So there's a mirror here on your Joy. There's a little that will material in. So you kind of like hold it up there and it'll feed it in for you. On my Explorer, I just need to push my feed button and it will pull in the material. Now it will pull in your material all the way in to make sure that you have enough material or your mat. So you want to make sure you have enough room behind it so that your mat can go all the way in. Now all I just need to do is I've got it all set up and I'm ready to go. So go ahead and set up my light is flashing here. I'm ready to go. Any rules for, so the monogram, that's a good question. So your monogram should go first initial, middle, your last initial is the big one, and then your middle initial. So it goes first initial, last initial, middle initial. So I'm Heather Kesley Anderson, and my monogram is HAK. That's like the traditional way of doing it. But you don't have to do it that way. You do whatever you want to do. So on the silhouette machine, you can do this. I'm not sure what you mean, Tamia. Can you be a little bit more specific with your question? Because the silhouette software, you would do the same thing, lay out your fonts, get your canvas all set up and send it to your machine. So yeah, you probably, if your machine is cutting, if it's not cutting all the way through or it's cutting too deep, you probably have the wrong setting for your material. So if you're a beginner, I really try and recommend you use the materials that go with your machine. So like if you're new to Cricut, I would use Cricut material until you're comfortable with it. If you're silhouette, like I'd use Silhouette or Oracle material until you're comfortable with that material on that machine. All the machines will cut all the different materials. So like you have some really fun options with the make market material. So all the machines will cut all of the materials. they just, you want to do like a little test cut, and that you can just do like a little triangle or circle in the corner to make sure that you have the right settings on there. So they'll all do the same materials on your machines. So Tina, if you want to be more specific with your question there, I do work with silhouettes, so I can hopefully answer that for you as well. Because they're so fun. All the machines are so fun and they're easy. I always recommend that you keep your machine accessible so that you can just throw something in there and make it really quickly. Now I do have, while that's cutting, I did go ahead and cut mine out. Oh, so if you're working with stickers on any of these, like if you're doing print then cut, you do want to make sure that you have your calibration set properly, because if your machine isn't calibrated on the print then cut, it will not cut around your letters properly. So this I'm just using vinyl. I'm not doing print then cut. I'm just doing the straight vinyl color. So I don't have to worry about calibration or anything like that. It'll just cut it right out. It's when you're using like the print and cut that you need to worry about the calibration of your design. I hope that helps answer that question. All right, I'm going to just set these aside here. We'll come back to these in a bit. And I need my, take what I do. Okay, here it is. All right. So if we can go to the overhead, I want to show you all how to do your weeding. So if we can swap over to the overhead, let's see if I can do that real quick. So once everything is cut out, it'll come like this. Now I've gone ahead and pulled out all of my inside of my design. I do that when I more so when I'm working with iron-on material, because the iron-on backing still has a little stick to it. So I do that more so when I'm on that one than when I'm just working on vinyl. You'll use your weeding tool, and you want to use this hook here, and you hook into the vinyl just enough to be able to pull it from the backing. So you just start working this off of your design, and you want to make sure everything sticks down. So we're just going to kind of slowly work this off. Now, sometimes what I like to do, if I have too much of a piece, I'll just kind of tear my vinyl so that it's a little bit easier. I don't have so much to have to handle. I'll just use, let me get my scissors. I'll use scissors and just kind of cut this as I go if I want to keep the whole sheet together. So I'll just kind of like give it a little cut where I need to. And then I can just keep weeding my design off of the page. And just make sure everything stays on there as I want it to. Also, when you're designing your design, you can add little boxes around each of the names, which makes it a little bit easier to weed it that way, unless you have to handle it. Now, this name has a little I in there, a dot on the I. So I want to, as I'm removing my extra material, that I is staying there. So I just want to kind of dot my I. And then I'm just going to work our way around here. That done. So don't want to get overwhelmed with having too much vinyl that you're trying to peel off, because it will stick back on it. And you don't want that to happen. That's when you get a big mess. So you don't want that to happen. Make sure my eye came off there. And I'm just peeling this off. Now, if you're having a hard time, your weeding should happen pretty easily. If for some reason you're having a hard time weeding your design, like it didn't cut all the way through or something like that, that's when you'd want to go back in and make sure that you have the right cut settings. So if you're finding that it's not cutting all the way through, then you want to go back in and change your cut settings for the next time you do it. If I'm using a material that is like a texture material or something I haven't used before, or maybe a brand of material that I haven't used before, I do, oh, I just cut the A. I do like to go in and do a test cut. So I'll just go in with the vinyl and give it a little test cut with like that circle or the triangle and make sure it's working fully, like it's cutting all the way through. Another thing, if you don't have your vinyl adhered down onto your mat properly, that is also where you will run into trouble. If your material is sliding around on your mat and it's not cutting smoothly, that will give you trouble. So you just want to make sure that you have it adhered down to your mat. Get that one off there. There we go. So this is what you just do. Then you just work it off your mat as you're going. Now, if you are working with just a little bit of a design, let's say you just want to work with one little section, then you just grab your paper cutter and you would cut that this way. So we're just going to cut out this little bit here that I haven't done the weeding on yet. We'll cut that one smaller to there. So I love to use my paper trimmer. It makes it so easy to trim things down and just go with a little bit as you need it. So if you had a bunch of kids, each kid maybe had a little section of their name, you could just do a little piece like this. And then I would keep these in the wherever you have their notebooks or their workstation, keep their little names in there. They can use it and put them on things for themselves. So like maybe at school, they want to label things in the classroom or at school. You can send them in with their name, and then they can label their own notebooks and things like that. So once you have them weeded out, then we're just going to take the transfer tape and put that over the top of it. Now, I'm going to put transfer tape over all of these names. Again, you can use your paper trimmer. Let's go ahead and do my paper trimmer here. Let's see. So these are about 3.5 inches. So I'll just do 3.5 inches of my transfer tape. Oh, I should have cut my other one out of the glitter vinyl. Now, the cool thing about your transfer tape is you can use it multiple times. So if you are doing like a whole bunch of labeling, you can reuse your transfer tape multiple times. So we just are going to tear off the little, give yourself a little corner here. And what I like to do is give myself about 1/2 inch. So that's about 1 square length amount. And I'll put that onto my work surface. Then I take my design and I can kind of butt it right to the top there. So I know it's going to go on smoothly and even. So I've got that right on there. And all I have to do now is we'll just use my fingers and I'll pull back on this little lip here. And then with my top hand, I'll be pushing that down. Now, if you wanted to, you can grab a little wedge tool and hold that there. And then as you remove your transfer tape backing, kind of want to keep it as straight as possible. And I'm just pushing down with my wedge. I'm just pushing that down. Now, you can see my lines are nicely lined up here. So if I wanted to, I could then just take my scissors or my paper trimmer again and just do a few of these like this. This goes with my child to school, or I can save these for later and put them on items as the year goes by. So I've got those all ready to go. I can just grab them, put them in a tray, grab them when I need to, and put them on, whatever it is I'm putting them on. If I were putting it on, say, their tumbler or something like that for school, what you want to do is grab some alcohol spray and use a nice, I use this fluffy face cloth to hold my tumbler in place. And then I have these alcohol lens wipes that are great, easy to use. You can just use alcohol and a lint-free cloth. You just want to give a nice little clean spot on your work surface. So we'll just kind of clean that off right there. And then I would take the name. Now we're going to peel the backing off of your transfer sheet. When you're doing this, I like to work at a 45-degree angle. So I'll start on one corner and work my way diagonally across the blank. I mean, across the carrier sheet here. So I can either go from this corner or that corner. If I'm finding like it's not coming off here, sometimes I'll change over and try a different corner. So if you're having a hard time, just try a different angle. The other thing, and it shouldn't make a difference, but I think sometimes it does, using the company transfer paper as the vinyl can make a big difference. It shouldn't, and maybe it's just in my head, but like sometimes I find like if I'm using silhouette vinyl, I like to use the silhouette transfer tape and so on. But yeah, that could just be in my head. Okay, so we'll just start at a corner and you just kind of do a roll. So I just am rolling back the carrier sheet here, and you can, if it's not, like if my D were still stuck on my carrier sheet, I would just kind of come back and maybe I would go at a different angle and see if that could pop it up easier. So that's all you have to do. And then this piece where your vinyl came on, this is trash. You don't need to save that. But I've got my sheet here where my transfer tape is, and I'm just going to be able to put this transfer tape back on here and use that for another day. But coming back over to my cup, I'm just going to line my design up on my cup. Sometimes, if depending on where you're putting it, you can use the line on your transfer tape to line it up on your cup. So if I were going to put this down at the bottom, I could definitely do that, or I could just kind of put it up here and line that up that way. And then we're just gonna, I like to put the center down and then one side. And if you're really working on an angled cup, sometimes you have to pick up like one side of it and then start putting down your other side. If your transfer tape kind of like doesn't go down smoothly, you can always do that with it. So we're just gonna take it off of one side and oops, add it to another. I didn't know my own strength there. I'm just gonna kind of slide that off like that. And there we go. So now I have a great little cup with her name on it. And then I just take my transfer tape and I just can put that back on there. So when I'm ready to do another, let's say I want to do just the big D, I can just take that and do the big D and put this on, say, the other side. This gives me Laverne and Shirley vibes for those of that age group who remember that show. The big cursive D. How fun is that? So then I can just add that onto something else. Now, if I were really being stingy, I could use this little bit of transfer tape, even though it doesn't cover the whole thing. I could do that, or I could just grab my transfer tape and we'll just trim this down. And again, you'll clean your blank before putting your name, your image on there. You can just put that right on there like that. This is a little bit easier since it's only one piece. I don't have to really worry too much about getting that the right way. Now I can send that in with my daughter and she can add that to her computer or anything she wants to add that to. She can just put that right on there. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. That is our vinyl. And the next thing I want to show you, if you're doing, let's say you're doing, you want to maybe take a little pencil pouch like this, and you want to put their name on it, but you need to use iron-on material for that. So all we're going to do is come on back into Design Space. And I'm just going to change this up. Let's just put, let's just do, let me unattach these. Why don't I do one of the monograms? I'll just do one monogram. So we'll just copy that and paste that over. So then I can just kind of reattach that and hide that one. Okay. So I've got my little monogram here. Now I would measure my little tote to see what size I needed my monogram to be. Normally I might eyeball that, but I'll just take out, I think a 3 inches by 3 inches will work. Oh, you know what? I want to just show you guys. I'm going to change that. I'm not going to do my monogram. I wanted to show you how to iron on 2 layers of text. So let's just say I want to do KESLEY. Oops. Okay, let's just do KES. And I want to just do like a real simple font here. Not a cursive one. I just want to do just a regular fun font. And it doesn't need to be kerned. Let's do birthday. Try that one. Okay, that's a fun one. All right, so let's just take that one up to 150. Font size to be 150. Make that a little bit bigger. So I just need it to be about, it can be 3 inches high. 5.8 inches wide might be too big. Yeah, okay. So it needs to be, let's say 5 inches is the most, 4.5 inches. Oh, you know what? There was another, I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to change this because there was another font I wanted to use for this. And it was actually one that was a new font. And it was a Cricut font. It had 2 layers to it. So let me find that font and you'll see why I wanted to, I think that'll work. I didn't write it down. This was Cricut Keystone. Cricut Keystone was what I wanted to use. So let's just try that. Keystone. Okay, Keystone. There we go. So this was what I wanted to use. And so I want this to be about, what did I say, 5 inches wide would be the most, I think 4.5 inches wide is probably the best. Now, this is 2 colors. So in this font, you have 2 colors of the font. So I have the one is the top color, and then the next one is the back color. When I cut it, it's going to cut it in 2 layers, and then I'm going to be able to iron them on top of each other. So, so that's what we're going to do. So I just used Cricut, Cricut Keystone is what it's called. And it seems kind of small. We'll see. Let's see how it goes. 4.5 inches, 1.5 inches tall. Seems a little small for me, but let's make it. And what's going to happen is this was going to go over onto my mat. Now, I want to make it easy on myself and only put my mat in one time. So what I'm going to do is on the second layer, I'm actually going to move this object to the first mat. And we'll just confirm that move. And I'm going to take the top layer is going to come down here below the 6-inch mark. And then my back color is going to be at the top of the 12-inch mark. And what's important here, when you cut into iron-on material, you have to do one thing. And if you everyone's going to forget it, you will always, it will happen. But what we're going to do is we actually are going to choose everyday iron-on, and we need to have the mirror turned on. So it automatically turns on that mirror function for us. And you'll be able to see why in just a moment. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing that and let me grab my my mat again. Where did I put it? Here it is. I need my mat and then I need my 2 colors of material. So I'm going to remove my cut purple vinyl with my name all over it. That's ready for, I'll weed that out and then I can use that one. Now, as I mentioned, this one has the 2 colors moved onto one mat. The top corner is going to be my background color. So that's going to be my dark green. And then the next one is the light pink here. So I need to just make sure that this isn't bigger than 6 inches. So I'm just going to trim off some of my extra pieces here. And nope, that's not. So I'm going to put this on my mat first at the top corner here. And then I will take the pink and put that, just put that right on the bottom corner. Now I'm living on the edge and I'm going to just let that hang off so I don't have to trim it down. I can just put that right there. So now I have, basically my machine is thinking I'm cutting this both out of green, but I'm really cutting it out of green and then out of pink. So I'll just load that into my machine. And we'll let that cut away. All right, now while that's cutting, I can get my my Easy Press started to heat up. So what I need to do is figure out what my settings are. I can use the app on my phone to figure out my settings. So let me switch back over here. So I have on my phone the Cricut Heat app, and I can just turn that on and it will tell me what settings I need. Now, this only works on your Easy Presses that are Bluetooth compatible. So I have my Easy Press right here. I'll just turn this on. Okay, then on my machine, it's on my phone, the app, it's connected and I'm ready to start a new project. So I'm just going to start a new project and I just need to say what material am I going to transfer. And I'm using Cricut's Everyday Iron-On material, so I'll select that. And then it asks what is going to be my base. So this is like a little cotton canvas bag. And then it will tell me I'm going to use a Cricut heat press mat, and I don't need the tutorial. Okay, and then I just send these settings 340 degrees for 30 seconds, and I send these settings to my Easy Press. My Easy Press is using the Bluetooth connection, and that's going to communicate to my Easy Press my settings. Okay, and here's my mat that I'm going to be transferring on. So we're going to cut that onto here. Let me just get this off. Okay, so we'll just use this and there. Now, let's check out how my vinyls are. It's done cutting, so I can bring this over. And I did that wrong. I did that wrong, guys. You need to put your material on your cutting mat the reverse way from your vinyl. So you actually need to turn it over and put the back side of the material down to be cut. Let's see, I think I had it cut there. I sure did. All right. So I just need to, I'm going to trim this off here and recut this design. Now, one thing that you can do with your Cricut machine, if you need to recut something, is just load it back in and hit the play button again, and it'll cut the exact same thing again. I'm so sorry. So I did not have my shiny side down, and it cut into the carrier sheet. The shiny side is the carrier sheet. So you need to make sure that you have your shiny side down on your mat to cut it.
Hey, Kesley, do you only
Yes.
layer everyday iron on?
I'm sorry, ask me that one more time.
Do you only layer everyday iron on?
Oh no, you can, that's a great question. You can mirror any type, I mean, you can layer any type of iron on. So if you are going to be using glitter iron on, you can layer the glitter iron on. What I do recommend if I'm layering with glitter iron on is I like to have the glitter iron on the at the top layer. So my base layer would be my sorry guys, my base layer would be like my plain iron on, and then my top layer would be the glitter. But you can also layer, like you can use infusible ink and layer infusible ink on top of each other, um, and use infusible ink and iron on. I did pull this little bag out. This one has infusible ink just on it. This is just cut out of infusible ink on that bag. So you can mix and match. I have a bunch of different things. I did a class last week on layering heat transfer vinyl, which would be on the Michael's website, the YouTube channel. All right, so we've got this. I'm just going to give it that 5-second heat press. The reason you're pressing this with the heat is to remove any moisture out of your design. So we just kind of give that little press there. And I'm sorry, guys, I just looked at my watch. I didn't realize how far over time I was. Are you okay if we finish this project?
Absolutely, take your time.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm usually better at keeping my time. I think I got so excited just being ready for school and everything. I love this time. Okay, so now we're going to show you. I've got this done properly. And I just need to trim this off just a little bit because it's just a little, like an 1.5 inches here. You could use your paper trimmer if you want to be a little bit more exact, or we can just use my scissors here. All right, now we'll just use my weeding tool. I am such a nerd. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to do it this way because I want you guys to see how this turned out. When I went back to cut it, I had to resend it, but I didn't even realize that I didn't change the name. It says text. So I'm sorry. Oh, it is what it is, right? But you guys will at least get to see if you need to add, like if you need to label backpacks or jackets or anything like that, you can just type up your child's name and put it right, just a single line of text on their garment or anything like that. I always kind of like to talk to my kids though before I do it, just to make sure I don't add it in a place, if you have a kid that's sensitive, that you don't add it in a place that would annoy them. So sometimes, like, believe it or not, the hem of your shirt is a great place to add your vinyl, because that, that doesn't really get tucked in or anything. It's not touching the child's skin. They don't notice it. If you were to do really small names and put it on, say, their name tag, you really have to be careful, because usually not name tags, but the tag of the shirt, usually those are very high polyester and it'll melt. So just be careful with that if you are putting it on a tag like that. And also, if you're putting it on something polyester for school, be careful as well that you are you know what your base material is, because I can tell you I have melted polyester with my designs before. Not intentionally, but it happened. So just kind of keep that in mind. All right, now when you're layering your, if you are layering, like I'm going to do, you just want to make sure that you don't overpress your material. So we're just going to do the first layer. We're going to do like a kiss press and just get it pressed enough to allow me to remove the carrier sheet. And then I'll go back and do the full press on my last one. Here we go. So the first layer will be the green layer, and I'm going to just do just a quick like 10 or 15 seconds with that one, not the full 30 seconds as the easy press suggests. Okay, so I've done the press to start it with, and really the only reason for that is just to make sure you're taking out any moisture in your garment. Then you would take your ruler and make sure you've got that lined up nice and straight. The carrier sheet is what holds all those letters together. So that is that carrier sheet here. It's like your transfer sheet. Again, I'm just going to pop this on there and do like 10 or 12 seconds. Just enough to hopefully allow me to remove the carrier sheet, but not completely press it down. And the reason for that, the reason I do that is I just want it to kind of set, but not fully press down. And you can over press your garments. So that's why I only do just that one quick kiss press, and then I'll come back with my second layer and do the whole time, because I just don't want to have it too much on there. So that little corner there, it's not cool enough yet. You do want to kind of give it a moment to cool before peeling it off. I'm just going to kind of hold that down. There we go. And again, it's that 45-degree angle, same kind of thing. Doesn't want to come up there, but that's okay. We'll come back to you. Just kind of keep working it. If it comes up a little bit, that's okay. If it comes up a lot, you can just hit that one little spot where it kind of seems like it's coming up again. Like this little corner here was coming right up. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to come at this at a different angle. That little X there is coming up. But this first layer, we just want it to be nice and just a little bit on there. You don't have to have it all set. There we go. So I'm just going to kind of hold that down and peel that right off there. Okay, so as you know, it's not down all the way, and that's okay, because I'm going to come back with my top layer and we're going to position this on there. And since I have all the vinyl is covered up, I'm not putting anything on it. If some of my vinyl were outside of my pink carrier sheet, I would then put parchment paper or something on there. So then we're just going to put that right on there. The zipper's hanging out. And I'm going to hit that green arrow. Just kind of hold it a little bit, not too hard or anything like that. And if you guys want to see other projects I've made in Design Space, you can always find me there at Kesley Anderson and give me a follow. You can see some of the other projects I've created for different things. The Easy Press is nice. One thing I like about it is that it does automatically turn off after time. Like, so if you're not using it, it will turn off. So you don't have to worry, overnight that you're going to damage something or leave it on. That's hot. So let's just give it a little cool down time. So you want to let it cool a bit before peeling it off. Let that kind of dry, cool off a bit. All right. It's funny, you can take different things that are cold, like if I have a cold can here, I can just kind of run that over there with my soda can and help it cool down a bit. If you take it off the mat retains your heat. So if you take it off of that, it will cool down a bit, or you can just, so you have to kind of look at your vinyl. Some of it you want to peel when it's hot, other ones you want to let it cool completely before peeling it. So they all can kind of vary. Let's just give it a test. My little 45-degree. And again, if for any reason it stuck somewhere, it didn't go down, I would just put some parchment paper over it and I would repress it. But there we go. Now you can label things with iron-on material. All right. Well, guys, I think that's everything. We've done so much tonight. I hope everyone is ready for school. You're ready to go. If you use some of these techniques and make something, please do share it on Instagram, and you can tag Learn with Michael, and Michael's will get to see it, and we'll see what you're doing, what you're working on. Thank you for joining me. I hope to see you in future classes. Have a great night.